Let's get this rolling. Boom. Brianna Pinto on the pod today, a North Carolina Tar Heel alum, Gotham FC, NWSL player. I mean, just a national team lifer. That's what we call them. Jumping on the pod. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm doing well. It's good to see both of you. I'm just honored to be here because I know a number of super cool people have been on it before. So
ooh, we love our Tar Heels. We love Joe, but we love getting our Tar Heels on. I think Joe's making me like a secret fan of all the, now I can't even say Tar Hole because I just like you guys too much.
I know nobody you've met has been mean, have we? We're great.
No, they're all great people. And my sister's moving to Chapel Hill, so I guess I have to embrace it now. You never know. One of my niece or nephews could be a Tar Heel here in 10 years. So we'll see what happens.
It's a great place to be.
Yeah, wonderful. It is a really nice. So let's get right into it. We know that your senior season was affected by COVID, which God knows, it kind of feels like COVID has been going on for 10 years and it really has been like 2 years. Give us some insight into what that was like in the program, having that your last, legitimate season here was in the spring. I mean, me and Joe kind of watched some of the games, but it felt odd. We were talking about how last week we were talking about how much it's like, I feel like we're back in it now. It's like fall. It feels like true, like postseason kind of play. Talk about your last year at UNC, how that experience went with COVID and how the team was able to make the most of it, obviously having a great run there.
Yeah. So first of all, I had the most amazing 3 years at Carolina. I wouldn't change it for the world. I had a number of great teammates, starting with the senior class that we came in with, and they embraced us from day one. My class was super, super talented, and I think we did a lot of amazing things where we went to every single ACC tournament championship and 2 national championships and a semifinal, so 3 college cups. But I would say that my experience at college flew by in the sense that I really only had a year and a half of real college. Mm-hmm. So the freshman year was perfectly fine. Freshman fall, we did well. Unfortunately, we lost to FSU in the final. Spring season, I got to experience the early morning trainings. That was different, but I enjoyed it. And I think we kind of flip-flopped back from afternoon to morning instead of doing all morning sessions. So it gave people a little bit more. It gave people
He's getting soft, Joe. He's getting soft.
So I was grateful for that. Yeah. And then I went back for fall of my sophomore year. And then in January, I was with the under 20 cycle. So I was gone for really all of the spring semester of my sophomore year because I was in the Dominican Republic for the under 20 World Cup qualifying event. That went super well. We won the event. And when I came back after that trip, we were supposed to go on a trip to England with Carolina, and we were going to see a bunch of EPL games, and it was going to be our 4-year trip.
I say every 4 years. My group missed it. I'm like, I didn't get to go anywhere. Same. I feel you. I was very upset.
As was the rest of my team. It was really unfortunate, especially since we had a number of Brits that were going to show us all around England. So then that's really when COVID started. So we trained from essentially April to July, and then we started getting prepared for our season. We were kind of on our own, and we had to find a way to stay fit mentally and physically, because that was just an exhausting time, not really knowing if we'd have a season in the fall. But Anson was great. He still had our book club during the summer, and it kept us in tune with what's going on, and it allowed us to build camaraderie ahead of the season. But we always remained optimistic, and I think that was the most important part. So going into the fall, we realized that a lot of other leagues were not fortunate to have a season, such as the Pac-12. So we were really grateful for all the efforts the ACC made to get us tested 3 times a week, to make sure that all of the game procedures were safe, and that we could really go out there and do what we do best. And the fall went super well. We made another ACC tournament, and then we were like, the rest of our season is postseason. So we would play our non-conference games in the spring, and then
played good old CSU.
This is this spring of 2021, and then it's the tournament time. So that was my college experience. A year, freshman year, half of sophomore year, and then COVID, and then I was done. So, but again, I had a lot of valuable experiences within it. I think we remained resilient because we had to prioritize taking care of each other first. And for a lot of college students, that's hard because you see all your peers in your classroom going and doing whatever and being kind of reckless. But being safe was the only way that we could play. And we were super proud to have the only team on campus that did not get COVID during the fall. So that was something
That's
we were really proud about.
No shock there.
Yeah,
great discipline.
No shock there. That's crazy. I knew, obviously I knew you were there, but I did not realize how like short of a time that you actually physically were there. So that's actually really good perspective. So talk about then deciding to leave, spent 3 years at North Carolina, talk about the decision to leave early and to be kind of one of the first kind of group of girls to go to the league early. What led to that decision? Just chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think COVID had a lot to do with it. Like college experience wasn't really the same, just in terms of off the field, like how we operated on the field. And I felt like I got everything out of the program that I could have ever asked for. And one of the most proud accomplishments I had with my class is like, we never lost a regular season game. And part of me was like, I don't want to break that record, but looking ahead, I was like, for my long-term development, my dream is to play professionally, and the NWSL had done a great job hosting games in the midst of a pandemic, and they demonstrated that with the Challenge Cup. And that's really where I wanted to be. I wanted to continue to push myself and be around the most experienced players. So like today I get to train with Carly Lloyd, for example, and that's like super cool as she closes out her career. But most importantly, I just wanted one more chance to give everything I had to Carolina to try and win. Unfortunately, we lost in the semifinal, but I think a lot of great things came from that and a lot of important lessons were learned. And I just am so grateful for the girls that I was by or I got to play with in the last semester, because we supported each other. We just checked in on each other because mental health was struggling, not being able to see anybody else on campus and having to maintain a bubble for almost a year. So I like my college experience the last year, I really didn't get to connect with anybody outside of the team. And the sad thing about it was that so after sophomore year, I joined Kenan-Flagler and started there full time. So the fact that I wasn't able to actually go to classes in person and meet my peers was pretty upsetting, but I didn't feel like it was going to be any different. So the other thing is I wanted to make sure that like I prioritize my safety. And if we are around other students that are kind of like going out and stuff long-term, how does that affect me? And I just wanted to basically prioritize my development, prioritize my safety, and give everything I had the last semester towards winning. But again, I'm super supportive of the program. I want them to win. I want them to succeed. And I'm so grateful for my time there.
Yeah, I think that's also, I don't know about you, Joe, but I think what's amazing to me is to see the progress we've made over 5 to 10 years in regards to recognizing. So Morgan Bryan was someone who was kind of a lifer that I experienced at UVA, and similarly, right, had to kind of prioritize these high level soccer opportunities while also trying to finish school. And I think it's just amazing to see that there's now opportunity for players like you to get the chance to play and pursue younger, with the idea that like your education's still a priority, but it doesn't need to necessarily be done within the same 4-year span as, call it a regular traditional route would be. So that's really amazing. And kudos to you to take the courage to kind of go the non-traditional way, because I think a lot of people haven't really seek that out. And I think you're setting a path for other players who will have similar opportunities to you. Speaking of kind of your character and things that you're also involved in, we found it really fascinating that you spoke with Alfonso Davies of Canada, Diego, I'm going to probably botch his last name, but Lanes of Mexico at the 68th FIFA Congress.
That's
you
correct,
are the U.S. the U.S. representative as part of this North America joint bid to host the 2026 Men's World Cup. Talk to like just how you ended up with that responsibility.
That's a big responsibility.
You know, I mean, part of the job is to persuade FIFA, and I just think it's an incredible piece to your story. It's not really necessarily field related, but we want to hear about kind of that experience.
I actually would confidently say that was the most enriching and fulfilling experience I've ever had in my entire life. Just because like it's with FIFA, an organization that I know and love and have been a part of for all these years, but to host a World Cup, like that is so incredibly special. And I'm passionate about soccer becoming the preeminent sport in not only America, but in North America. So in order for that to happen, the young boys and girls need to see it, and they need to be able to identify with it and see players and see themselves in those roles 10, 15 years down the line. So I think in spring of 2018, so my senior year of high school, the U.S. Soccer reached out to me and they were like, hey, like we're asking for people to submit videos about what football means to them. And I actually took like a lot of time. I was like, well, I've never really thought about it and like put it into words in a video. I can't remember how long the video had to be. Maybe it was like a minute, but I wanted to put a lot of thought and effort into it because I have had a lot of valuable experiences that have been gifted to me and that I've earned along the way with like club and college and also the national team. So I really wanted to reflect on that. So essentially I spoke about getting to play Iran in a tournament in China. It was their first time playing a youth international match. So you could just see the girls on like the joy in their face. And I think that was just so uplifting because we got to share a collective passion for the game. And even though the score was fairly lopsided, it was bigger than just a result. It was like about how more women across the world are getting opportunities to play the game. And it required me to be reflective on how blessed we are to have the resources, both financially and like tactically, having coaches who can guide us to our potential. And I think getting to share that experience with them on the field and then off the field, reflecting on like what our lives look like outside of our identity as soccer players was super special. And basically I spoke to that and I said, soccer has the power to unite people of unlikely backgrounds who can join these friendships through their collective love for the game. So they loved it and they wanted to build on it. And I was selected as the youth representative. I think they interviewed both men's and women's candidates from US Soccer U20 pool. And ultimately they selected me. So I worked with Terrence Zuplat. He was actually the speechwriter for the Obama administration. And he was great. He just taught me that all the workings that go into making a speech great. And eventually I took a trip to England. So I was with the under 20 cycle for the 2018 FIFA World Cup, under 20 World Cup. And we were in France and basically US Soccer called me and they're like, hey, we need to get prepared for this event in the 68th FIFA Congress. So can you come to England for a couple of days, miss a game in your tournament in France, come practice with us, and then you can return back to France for the rest of your tournament. So I was like a little bit sketched out. I was like, oh my God, like I'm still competing for a chance to play with this under 20 team. Like I want to continue to prove myself on the field, but there's also this opportunity to like represent the whole entire federation. So ultimately I got approval. And they were like, you kind of have to go. They're our bosses, essentially. So I went to England, where the United Bid Committee met up, and I had a speech coach, and I had like 12 of the most influential people in like North American soccer just looking at me. I was like, oh my goodness, do I belong here? Like, I need to make sure that I uphold my end of the bargain. And basically, I will never forget it. They gave me my speech, like the rough workings of it, because we edited it as we went. And they're like, okay, like your turn to practice, go read the speech. So I literally went up there and I read the speech, like no life, nothing. And they were like, stop, you sound dead. And I was like, oh, I just thought I was here to read the speech. And they were like, I was like completely mortified, honestly. I was like, oh my God, like I don't want to let them down. But they were like, you need to practice like inflection in your voice. So good afternoon sounds very different from good afternoon. My name is Brianna Pinto. So I like learned how to pronounce certain words, the pace at which I spoke, eye contact with the rest of the room. And these skills were skills that I've grown to love because I love public speaking because of the opportunity. So I was there for like 2 days. I went back to France. We won the tournament in Toulon. Then after that, I went to Russia to meet up with the rest of the United Bid Committee. Diego Lainez was actually in the same tournament as me in France. And then Alfonso had MLS games. So then they both came from those events, and we all met up and became instant friends. And we essentially put our pieces together from the 3 federations, and we delivered the speech and won the bid. And a lot went into it, but it was so cool because we had so many of the most influential people in FIFA just in awe that young and upcoming stars got to be a part of securing the hosting rights to the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
That's amazing.
I mean, truly incredible.
It also just speaks to, like, we always say this at the pod, it's like so many of you women in the NWSL as well, still in college, like we're talking about the top programs in the country, and yet you're so intelligent. You have so many things going for you outside of just like your abilities on the field, which is like, just, it speaks to how well-rounded so many of us are and have been in the NWSL. And that's an amazing, we will definitely give you credit when that kind of rolls through, and way to have the courage to do that. Speaking of, I think.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is, like, I was just really grateful for the opportunity as a woman and a minority to be on that platform, especially for World Cup. And I think given the political climate at the time, that like said a lot in terms of the countries that were voting for us. And they were really, really appreciative of that. And they actually came up to me and just, I don't know, just noticed how much courage that took. So I was just grateful for the opportunity, and I learned a lot from it. And I definitely will apply it into more spaces as I progress through the business world after my soccer career ends.
Well, we are excited.
I just got chills with that. That's really cool.
Yeah. We need more Brianna Pintos to represent us as, you know, women and players. So speaking of, I mean, there's no, you're 100% one of the many few national team lifers and true lifers, to the extent in which you've taken it all the way to the full team. Talk a little bit about how you've been able, in your opinion, to sustain consistency over your career, because obviously coming from U14 to now, that's a lot of pressure to have dealt with. And also now being in the NWSL, it's obviously a different dynamic. How is it balancing your goals to be on the national team, but also recognizing that you have your club team that you're also trying to perform for? The balance, I would say, is a little different, right? Like at UNC, it's pretty no brainer, but when it's your career and paying your bills, it's kind of like the national team is, yes, the most important piece, but it's also like, what can I do for Gotham, and how do I focus on that while trying to also reach that goal? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd say there's a mindset switch. I essentially grew up in the youth national team system where I would go to camps like every 2 to 4 weeks, and it would be back to back to back. And that's kind of like what I grew to know as like normal. And I think part of my success at a young age with the national team was attributed to how I was just in a routine. Like I went to camp, I knew what to expect. I knew the right questions to ask. I knew how to get the most out of the experience of being there, because it is an honor and a privilege to wear the crest anytime you get to go to camp. But with that being said, as you grow older, the programming becomes less because the pool becomes smaller. And it really sucks. Like I really wanted to have the 2020 FIFA World Cup with the 2000 age group. And I truly feel for my entire age group that didn't get a Youth World Cup, because it's an amazing platform to propel you to the next part of your career, essentially. And I was lucky to be a part of the 17s and the 20s with the 99 and 98 age groups. And from there, like I got to go higher and higher and test my limits and learn from older players. And I think one of the coolest things was like, I was driven by like adrenaline, like just being there and being with all these great players. I wasn't really thinking about like my performance. I was there and having fun. But as I've grown older, I've become more cognizant of like these experiences are far and few between, and you've got you've got to make the most of them. So,
For sure.
but again, like I think the joy should be the number one priority, because you can't be at your
100%.
best and like ultimately having fun. So now as I've gone through college, been through that, and then now at the professional level, you've got a lot more responsibility. So if I'm doing classes, as we mentioned before, I'm also getting integrated into the Gotham system and trying to earn more playing time and things like that. And we've had a really successful year, and we're super excited about being in playoffs. And the number one priority is your club, because that's where you are from day one, sort of. And you have to make sure that you perform every single time you step on the field, because all the best, well, in my opinion, most of the best players in the world are playing in our league. And if you can have a consistent impact in the NWSL, most of the time it translates into success with the national team. And I think I still have a lot to prove at this level, and I want to continue learning from those around me, because I can look left and right at our training sessions at any given day, and I've got world stars who have World Cups, or have won NWSL championships before, or have won national championships at college, and they've got so much information to share. And I think it's just such a positive environment to be in, because I'm growing in different ways. And I think before, like, learning how to become a true professional and be consistent every single day, no matter what changes off the field, that's a huge area of growth. And I think that's the biggest thing, because in college and a club, you've got people that are looking out for you, and here you're kind of like on your own. With that being said, like, you've got great teammates who are always going to have your back, but
it's different.
Is more reliant on the individual at this level.
For sure.
Yeah. So you would say that's the biggest kind of learning curve that you've had as an NWSL player?
Yeah. Just like being able to be consistent on your own, and like kind of stepping up to the plate every day and having a level-headed mindset. You can't let your highs get too high or your lows get too low, and you have to pick yourself up, because like it's hard being here. We deal with a lot, especially as women's soccer players. Like, granted, everything that happened in the media in the last couple weeks or months, like, we have to kind of accept it, shake it off, and move on. And we have to continue to put the best product on the field, because ultimately that's how our game grows.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of players in this league bear the burden that others place on us, and it would be such a blessing to like be able to be professional soccer players and not have to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
Not worry about like
that's perfectly well
day.
said. Yeah.
That comes.
I definitely think like just the mindset of taking whatever comes in your path and finding a way to navigate through it is the biggest learning curve, because like in college, you've got people blocking things for you, protecting you, kind of coddling you, if you will. And that's not the reality here.
Yeah.
So.
I 100% back that. That's very,
and it never ends. Unfortunately, even outside of soccer, it never ends. It's just how it is now.
So not only are you a stud on the field, but you're a stud off the field in the classroom and in the community. So are you still enrolled in classes? So you're on track to graduate, so you're a professional soccer player and still on track to graduate, which is phenomenal. You are part of the Kenan-Flagler Business School. You're speaking to a Kenan-Flagler B School dropout. I got in, I tore one ACL, I dropped it to my minor, I tore the other, and I am not a graduate of Kenan-Flagler, but I was in it. So I do have some connection.
Look, being a part of it is great. First of all, I'm just so grateful for the community because while like the athletics program as a whole is amazing and you meet a lot of great people, I do think in college it's really important to meet people who don't do the same thing as you, like don't play sports, because they're doing a lot of amazing things in the world outside of even school, and just to learn about it and hear about their experiences is super, super enriching. And I've gained a lot of good friends over that period of time. So I am taking my classes completely online. I'm so grateful for Kenan-Flagler for helping me make it work. But I think the only way I was able to make this work is because we've been online for the last year and a half with COVID. So the professors are familiar with it. They know how to make it work. And at least for me and for my classmates, it's kind of like it's mutually beneficial because the students that are sick or like have a reason that they can't attend class can just attend online with me, like via Zoom.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's super great.
So what are you wanting to do with that B School degree? What's your emphasis? What are you wanting to do with it? What are you going to take the world by storm with?
So with my B School degree, I ultimately want to work with FIFA. I think just getting to see the inner workings of that organization, I want to be a part of it. I want to make it better. I want to bring more women and minorities into it. And I want it to reflect all of the people that play football around the world. I did not feel that when I was in the 68th FIFA Congress. So I do think they can be better about letting the people that play the game run the game. And I don't know in what role that I'd want in FIFA. I mean, it'd be great to go as high as I possibly can, maybe FIFA president, I don't know, but
heck yeah, girl.
I mean, even but just for now, like I want to continue gaining experience. When the 2026 World Cup does come around, if I'm not too busy, I'd love to like work on the preparation for bringing it here, whether that's a marketing role or like an administrative role, like with logistics, because a lot of sponsors have to be in store for that to work. And basically a lot of things go into it. And I'm learning how you host a mega event like that in a lot of my business school classes. So to answer your question, area of emphasis, I do not have one. I've taken a lot of marketing classes. I originally wanted to do real estate, like commercial real estate, because it was my for the longest time to do something like what the foundation is doing, US Soccer Foundation. So they're putting mini pitches all across the US. And I wanted to kind of do commercial real estate, if you will, and provide pitches like in inner cities and just in communities where they don't have access to as many fields. Mainly because like growing up, I mean, I think you could attest to this. Field access is not
there
easy. Yeah, because like a lot of the youth clubs own the fields, they'll lock them if you're part of the club. And in order for us to build the pickup culture or have a really authentic love for the game, like you see in Brazil or in France or in other parts of the world, like people have to be playing pickup and they have to have access to fields at all times. That was something I'd definitely be interested in. Maybe if I were to combine those two passions with FIFA, bringing more fields so that more women across the world could have access to them, and placing them in less developed countries so that they have a fair chance to reach the highest level of the game.
Well, dang, I feel inspired to like freaking like, let's go change the world, Pinto. Let's do it.
But we need to have more, to be honest, this is why I love hearing this from you, because I just think there's such a lack of representation from the women's side at the highest level of decision making. And to your point, right? Like when I think about, I work in marketing now, and when I think about you as a benefit to the World Cup, you're a player. You know what these players are going to need to be successful in that tournament. And that experience and that knowledge isn't earned, right? You can't read that in a book. That's just based off your experience. So I'm glad to hear that you're getting involved. And I know Joe's about to segue into this, but it also made me excited when I heard that Carly Lloyd was also very much talking about how she's not going anywhere, how she wants to be a voice in the game and help with the progression of the game. And it's exciting to hear players be amped and excited about that, because that's a big challenge to take on, to your point, right? Like there's a lot that comes with that, but it's so needed for us to get what we rightfully have always deserved, and more representation, the better. So Joe?
Yeah, I think that's also why I took a role with Athlete Council, because I wanted to learn like how our federation is run. And I also, like with the Next Gen United team that I have, there's 5 young and diverse athletes. We wanted to make a point that like you're never too young or too old to represent our federation and push the game forward, no matter what you look like or where you And we just hope that once we're done with that, more young players will run for positions on the Athlete Council, so that when we have presidential elections or vice presidential elections 10, 15, 20 years down the line, we have groomed players who have come through our system to be ready to accept those roles, who have the experience as players and can understand what you need to run a successful federation.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. So kind of the last question we kind of want to wrap up with is, we have to ask, how has it been to be a part of Carly Lloyd's final season in the NWSL? What is it like to be at practice with her, travel with her, all the good stuff? What's it been like?
So I've gotten to see her in 2 phases of her career. With my brief stint with the senior team, getting to see her a couple of years ago, and just like how intense she is and how detail oriented she is. I think that's what sets her apart. She's willing to do the extra work that a lot of players aren't willing to do. And I think she even says it now. I don't want to speak out of turn or speak on her behalf, but I do feel like she's like living in the moment a little bit more, and she's taking time to just like embrace every last opportunity that she gets. And I think that's what's special, because even reflecting on my career, like even how fast the last 5 years have gone, and I'm like, she's had like I think a 17-year career, and it seems like it's gone by like this. Like 2015 doesn't seem that long ago to me, and that was essentially the height of her career. So for her to be wrapping it up now, it's just shocking how fast time goes by, and how even when we're having fun and at the height of our career, are we really in the moment, like taking everything in? So she's just been good about connecting with all of her teammates, even with me. Like I really appreciate her taking time to like go out of her way to like give me little pointers, or just be like, that was really, really great what you just did. Or I think there's a picture of us that Gotham posted where
I love that picture. I love that one.
I was just subbed into the game, and she's like, you just got to do what you did in practice today. Break up tackles and start the attack, and you'll be great out there. And I just think like hearing comments like that, it's like obviously motivating, because you've got one of the best players in the world telling you like you can be great today, and kind of giving you the keys to success. And I just am really grateful, because she's imparted so much knowledge on not only on me but all of the team and all of the staff about how to be professional. And it's just cool to see her step up in the big moments, and hopefully, fingers crossed, end her career with a championship, because there's no better way to go out on top. And I'm just really, really happy and excited for the time we have left. And I'm going to continue to be a sponge and absorb as much information and watch her operate, because there won't be a player like her. Everybody's different. So,
so true.
It's cool. I'm really grateful for this opportunity.
It's also just amazing how long she's been able to take all that mileage and really preserve herself and redefine. I think people don't realize that, like, she just has redefined her game so many times based on where she's at physically. Like, you lose speed, it's just like an age thing. I think she would say the same. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to become like a great 9, or I'm going to become a playmaker that like does. And you're like, that's so, when you know one way for 10 years, that is so challenging. And it's so clear that you guys, I will say, you know, before we get into our rapid fire, I think what's really cool is seeing the maturation of the Gotham now, like, you know, the team environment. You can tell like there's just like a positive energy, and there's kind of this like love. I feel like there's like this great love amongst your team. And it's amazing how those things just translate to winning. And it's great to see the club in a better place. But yeah, let's dive into the rapid fire real quick. And because I know we've taken some of your time. This is what we do with everyone. Get them to know you a bit better, you know. So, favorite coffee drink?
Caramel macchiato.
Ooh, Joe, that's gonna be a good one to try.
I can't wait to
try them all.
Wait, before you move on my official visit at Carolina, Joe, you took me to Dunkin'.
We were in Dunkin'.
Cheers.
Did you get a Dunkin' poster giant?
Is that where it started?
I don't even think I got coffee, but I just learned your love for Dunkin' and for cold brew.
Pinto.
Yeah, we're gonna plug Dunkin' until they sponsor us. Dunkin', we need anything.
Yeah, you need a sponsor. Like, I've been saying this.
Dunkin' needs to come through.
Dunkin', please, if you're listening, anybody out there, Joe,
we'll take a local branch. We don't care. We don't need the corporate. Okay. Describe yourself in 3 words.
I think I'm adventurous. I like to have fun. So fun energy. And I'm God-fearing. I think having a God-centered life is important because it's kept me grounded in the best and most challenging of my life.
That's awesome.
Okay. Favorite team to play?
What level?
Let's do NWSL. I'd be curious to see what her first year.
Okay.
Oh. Wow. I mean, maybe North Carolina, just because like
you've been there longer
before, and like getting to see how the style work. I think it's fun.
All right. Okay. Who's your favorite college team to play? We gotta throw that in. Fine.
Duke.
Yeah. Duke. Okay, that makes sense. It's
always fun to beat up on those Dukies.
Yeah. Current favorite takeout?
Sushi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right on.
Okay, I've been trying to get, shout out Durham. I'm trying to get into M Sushi and I can't.
Okay, yeah. If
you got any connections
in Durham, I like Shiki Sushi. M Sushi is great. My parents have been there. I have not been there, but I've heard amazing things.
Okay, yeah. It's been hard. Trust me, your girl was a little late on reservations. It's very hard to find in Durham. Television show you recently binged?
I watched You last week. It was a little heavy. I also watched Squid Game. Both of them are heavy in their own ways.
Still getting over them.
That's all I'll say.
I'm sorry. I can't get behind the You. I mean, I just think a Gossip Girl and I'm like, now you're like a serial killer. Like, what is, you're like a killer now? I get too attached to old characters. But anyway. Favorite teammate, and I know there's going to be multiple, I'm sure, over your career, but right now, who's your favorite teammate?
My favorite teammate would probably be Midge Purse, just because she's a role model in the way that like she carries herself off the field, and she does a lot of the things that like I want to do with my life. Also just like getting to see how she's overcome adversity through this season it's been really, really powerful to me, and the way she's reached out off the field too. I would definitely say, but I have like closer friends, but I think like she's my favorite teammate in the sense that like following her journey has been extremely helpful for mine.
That's awesome.
And her swag. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know who's dressing her, but Mid, you need to like set up your own Insta, just swag.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, she made the best dress of the year in the NWSL.
I love it.
Thank you so much. This was great getting to know
Pinto,
you.
you're the best. Thank you for jumping on. Good luck. Go get that playoff dub.
Thank you.
And we got two wash-ups. You're your friends here. So we thank you.
Thank you.